that idea comes up. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit, man, just gonna be in the same room as them. And a number of other amazing horror legends is going to be just fucking off the wall exciting. It's my first ever con of anything. So I am super stoked that this is going to be my first one, especially one that's going to mean so much to me because it's Neve Campbell. She is the best final girl. And we should also mention that the term final girl was coined by author Carol J. Clover in 1992. So final girl just didn't like come about or anything. It was actually a term started by author Carol J. Clover. I apologize. Stretching back to horror movies from the 1970s and 1980s. So we're just, really celebrating badass, strong, final women who outsmarted the killer and who continue to outsmart the killer for 5 fucking movies.
Yeah.
Okay. So we did kind of talk through unfortunate Randy's death. So Randy gets a call on, I think it was Gail's cell phone. And they're
because
there he is.
Bob is asking for you, and she says, "Tell Bob I'll call him back."
Yes, yeah, and so
Bob Weinstein.
Yes, so Randy is on the phone on the college quad, which I think is so interesting that this movie just basically completely circulates around this college and Sydney's college life and everything. So Randy's on the phone with the killer right next to Gail's van, Gail's news van, and I think this is another really big indication, another red flag for the killer is in a news van. Ha ha ha. Hint, hint, hint. So Randy is talking to the killer, and Stu is a pussy ass wet rag, and Billy Loomis, what the fuck? Jesus, what a rat looking homo breast mama's boy. There are certain, things that don't hold up in a 90s movie.
It's a homophobic slur a little bit.
Yes.
And especially coming from Randy, who I guarantee had words like that thrown at him for being a film dork. It seems I don't like it, but it was also at a time when it was more socially acceptable for whatever reason. Exactly.
So now we are seeing Ghostface. We saw him pull Randy into the news van, and then just a bunch of break dancers walk by with like a giant boombox and kind of mask his death and his yelling and fighting and everything. And then you just see a bunch of corn syrup blood pouring out of the news van, and Randy has been stabbed.
That's a cool effect.
That is a very cool effect.
Ghostface walking away.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not, you don't even really see Ghostface. You just see some boots walking away.
And what's interesting, I didn't notice it the first couple times. They show the boots, and then when Joel, the cameraman, comes back with his box of donuts, is wearing similar boots. And I don't know if they were trying to set him up as a potential red herring, because I didn't pick up on it prior to this. But I feel like, he's always disappearing when Ghostface is around.
Yeah.
He dips out. He says, when you guys are ready to have a regular conversation, I'll come back.
Randy's dead. And then, oh, hey, I got donuts. And he just magically shows up right at the time where Gale Weathers and Dewey are hunting down where Randy went off to. They did start tackling people with cell phones, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah. Getting threatened instant message is the most 90s thing ever.
And like, not even like an instant message that we know and love, like the AOL instant message. Oh, no. This is like a DOS 1997 instant message. Like, it's a blue box with red bold letters. So I don't think, and I love too that they try to set Cotton up as a bit of a red herring as well, because Sydney's in the library. She gets that instant message that says, you're going to die tonight. The police can't help you, because Sydney's had a police escort now since I think Sarah Michelle Gellar was killed. And so, you're trying to figure out who the killer is, who Sydney can trust, who she can't trust. And then she's in the library, and all of a sudden, who pops up? Cotton Weary. And he's trying to talk about like, I'm not the killer, and he's being really sus about it, really creepy, really slimy. and everything. He's trying to talk her into an interview and everything, but his timing is just all wrong. And he's being rather aggressive about trying to get Sydney to agree to an interview. He's like talking to her about like $10,000. He's waving his hands in her face. He's being really disrespectful. Mm-hmm. Don't touch her, for one. Don't put your hands on. Don't touch anybody. Just don't touch anyone. Don't ever touch anybody. The
name Cotton Weary is fucking creepy sounding.
The name Cotton is a horrible name.
Yeah.
Everybody in history named Cotton was a terrible person.
Yeah, probably.
I can just
boot on Cotton Weary.
Yes. Yep. Those same very 90s boots. Mm-hmm. I just think of Cotton from the Salem witch trials.
Cotton Mather. Yeah,
Cotton Mather.
Convenient for the plot that Sydney's escort put her in a corner and say, stay here, and then run around looking for, who's instant messaging her.
And then Cotton just shows up.
Leave her alone.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But that's the whole thing, is like the police can't help you. And that's, again, keeping with the horror trope of the police are incompetent. You know what I mean? Like the adults of the movie are incompetent and they either don't believe you or they can't get anything done. And it's true. You really don't see the police do much of anything at all, other than they put a tail on Sydney. But other than that, that's really it. The police don't do much.
No, spoiler, the tail that's on her bodyguards, they both end up fucking dying.
Yeah.
Sydney's in the car with them. So
yes, exactly. So it doesn't, again, going back to that old horror trope of the adults of the movie can't be trusted.
There's a good line from Sydney's best friend,
Hallie.
Yeah.
Hallie.
She says, it's okay to break. And Sydney just shakes her head and says, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Man, I love it. Determination on her face throughout this scene is really good.
Yeah. And the thing is, what I love about this is that she is pretty misty-eyed. She looks really scared but determined in the face. And it's like, man, just the sheer strength that someone has to go through in some crazy ass situation where someone's harassing you, and you do have to stay strong through the whole thing.
Yeah. The sheriff here, played by Louis Arquette, which is David Arquette's dad.
Yep.
And I don't know if at this point they were married, but Courtney Cox's father-in-law at some point.
I know that I think they started dating on the set of the first one. This is actually pretty cute. Courtney Cox and David Arquette met on the first Scream, 1996, in which they played love interest Gale Weathers and Dewey Riley. We fell in love on the first, hated each other on the second, got married right before the third. In an interview with People in 2009, David revealed that he and Courtney met at a pre-party before filming for Scream started. We met at the pre-party before we started filming Scream. I was being a little cocky, and Courtney was like, I've heard of you. And we just kept flirting for a while. She's just so gorgeous, and she jokes around so much. He also confirmed that it wasn't love at first sight for Courtney. For me, it was, but not for her. I had to trick her, he said. And I think that's really cute.
And then as Cotton Weary is being escorted out, he gives Sydney a card and says, if you change your mind, call me.
And he's so gross.
Just about that money. That's it. That's all.
That's all he wants. He's like, I was in jail for a year. You're going to pay me about it.
I've told you about the guy I know who murdered his wife, right?
No. What?
Okay. Well, the reason I brought it up was because I feel like when you find out someone is a murderer, there's one of two reactions. There's, oh yeah, that makes sense, or I never saw it coming.
Yes. Now, please tell me about your friend that killed his wife.
So the reason I brought it up is because I feel like with Cotton Weary's character, he's the guy who, when Sydney was like, yeah, it was Cotton Weary, everyone was like, yeah, that makes sense. So when he's still kind of the skeevy asshole in this movie, you can see like, okay, yeah, that's his character arc. That's him. Because even now they are throwing him out there as a really strong red herring as the killer in this movie. And it just kind of makes sense as a red herring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so I met a guy through collecting toys, specifically G.I. Joes.
Yes, I do know this story.
Yes. So I'll leave names out, honestly.
Names don't need to be. Yeah. Names don't need. We can just tell the story.
Yeah. So I met this guy, and it was through toy collecting. And at one point, like, I had dinner with his family and my family at his house, just our family.
Yeah.
His family, him, his wife, her first child, who was not his child, which was very obvious in the way he treated him. And then I forget if they had 4 or 5 other kids at that point, but there were a load of kids. I think they ended up with like a total of 6 or 7.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And like very men are in charge, women do the stuff around the house, and men work, and that's it.
Hey, I hate him.
Yeah. And it was a weird dinner, not one that we ever wanted to repeat. And then at one point they moved out of state to, like, his family had a restaurant in another state and he was going to manage it. And then a couple years later, I hear he has been arrested for murder, accused of murdering his wife. And the story is fucking crazy. He was eventually found guilty of it and is now in jail.
And the wife you met, right?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
And it was a whole fucking story. Like, he said that she was on drugs and that some drug dealers, like, it was a drug deal gone bad, and like,
okay,
they were asleep in the house, and she just, like, yeah, it was a whole fucking thing. Moral of that story is, when I heard that, my reaction was instantly, oh, absolutely, he fucking did it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. I will say too, there is, now that I'm thinking about that, there is another clue as to who the killer is in this movie. So at that table earlier on, when Dewey and Randy are going back and forth of trying to decide who the killer is, and about how, like, both of them know these, like, horror movie rules, and, you know, they're sitting there talking about it, and, you know, well, you know, all of this, wouldn't, but we, you know, I know all of this, but I'm obviously not the killer, so no, we're not going to include me. And Dewey goes, well, hold on. If we're not, how can we not include you? You know all of these scary movie rules and whatnot. Why wouldn't we include you? And he goes, well, if the list of suspects includes myself, then it includes you too. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, kind of opens the door to, yeah, it is someone who, like, who's missing from that table that also has shown their crazy movie knowledge in so far that we've seen. And it's Timothy Oliphant's character.
They point Mickey out as a potential suspect.
They do, but they that's when they say, like, should we include Mickey? Because Mickey's just like me. And if we have to include me, we can't include me on that list. And that's when Dewey says, well, wait, hold on. Why can't we include you on that list? And that's when Randy says, well, if I'm on that list of suspects, you're on that list of suspects. So then they try to move away from that topic. So that's when they try to rule Randy out. But I think you do get your crazy, you know, film fanatic who believes that let's cause a stir around movies, versus Randy character who's like, movies don't influence us, but, like, let's look at all of the rules of a horror movie. You know what I mean? So I think right there it opens the door of, here's another potential killer.
Yeah. And that's
that you should be looking at
in the statement that it was trying to make, because very frequently, you know, when you get the mass shootings and things like that, people accuse them or accuse pop culture of influencing them, which is not the fucking case.
No, it's not.
They blame video games and horror movies and heavy metal, and it's that trio every fucking those are not influencing factors. You know what I mean? Because there are so many people who indulge in those 3 things on a regular basis who don't fucking murdering people.
Yeah.
You know, there's a documentary called Paradise Lost, the childhood murders at Robin Hood Hill, I think.
Oh my God. That's an incredible, I mean, that is an award-winning documentary, man.
Yeah. And though the 3 guys from that were committed of murder based on the fact that they listened to heavy metal. That was it. There was no fucking evidence otherwise. So this movie was making a statement on that, and Timothy Oliphant's character, you know, brings it out, says, don't the movies influence us? And is, okay, spoiler, I'm going there now, I guess. Timothy Oliphant is the other killer. So there are 2. It's Timothy Oliphant and Debbie Salt, who we have kind of hinted at, but it's not actually Debbie Salt, because she is who?
She's Mrs. Loomis.
Right.
She's Billy's mom.
Correct. Yeah. Which is, I think, a really fun way to go.
Callback.
And they found each other online.
Yes, which I think is great. And I mean, she walks out and has, statistically speaking, there are 93 active serial